On behalf of your host, Steve D, this is Bruce Buffer saying thank you for tuning in to Xtreme Lyfe. And now, this is the moment Xtreme Lyfe fans around the world have been waiting for. It's time!
Welcome to the Xtreme Lyfe podcast, episode 62, The Way. Today I am joined by up-and-coming MMA fighter Rachael Lippert, winner of the Xtreme Lyfe Purple Leg Award due to her vicious leg attacks on her last opponent in Caged Aggression 30. And I'm also joined today by play-by-play commentator, ring announcer, and most recently Trilla Fight Club pay-per-view lead commentator for the Jake Paul Ben Askren fight, my brother from another mother, Ray Flores. Thank you guys both for coming on. I appreciate it. How you doing?
Ladies
I'm
first.
good. I'm good. I'm doing good.
Ready to rock and roll. All right, cool. And Ray, I just want to say congrats on that show. I mean, that was a big one. It was a lot of I enjoyed watching it. You did a great job controlling the flow. I mean, how the heck did you control that crew, man?
Well, listen, I just let them be who they are. I mean, those personalities.
Oh, and they were. They were for sure.
It was, put it this way. I'll tell you this, Steve, is that those guys, Snoop Dogg and Mario Lopez and Pete Davidson and, Crime Faces, they're all so good on the air and they're so unique that I just kind of let them be. And I made sure we got to the points that we had to get to. But other than that, I really did not know what was going to happen or what was going to be said. I just knew I got to get from point A to point B to point C. How we got there, I just let it happen. And it was just the way we went. So that's how it was.
Yeah, when I tuned in, man, I was not sure what to expect because I saw the lineup of people coming on, and I was like, holy cow, how the heck is Ray going to manage these guys? I know, Ray, you're a consummate professional, and I always say that, but, it's a heck of a, you did a heck of a job, man. I mean, I think, how was it hanging out with Snoop Dogg? I mean, that must have been interesting. I saw your stuff, and, must have been an interesting night.
He's such a cool guy, man. The thing is that this guy, he's one of those people that is so nice. I could not believe how nice he is. It kind of took me back. I'm like, how are you this nice? Because he's a cool dude. He loves the sport. He loves boxing. He loves MMA. And it's just the way he is on camera. That's how he is off camera. We were hanging out by ourselves. So Bieber's performing and Snoop and I are watching Bieber perform. And I'm just talking to him, and it's like him and I have been friends forever. I mean, that's kind of how it is. And he's just that nice of a person. And Mario Lopez is one of the most talented people I've ever come across in my life. That guy did not miss a beat for over 4 hours. I mean, unbelievable. I mean, those two guys, and then Pete Davidson is Pete Davidson. I mean, he's a unique personality, and, he's running around everywhere. So, I mean, I had a blast. Now, was I tired after the show? Yes, I was. I got back to my room. I'm like, whoa,
what time did you get back to your room, Ray? I'm curious.
I got back. We ended the pay-per-view at a little after 1. I got back to my room at 2:15. And
okay.
I know, I've gotten asked a few times, hey, did you go out and party afterwards? I'm like, party afterwards? I'm like, I was so shell-shocked. Our call time was 2:30 in the afternoon. I'm like, that was 12 hours of sort of being on. I'm like, I got back to my room and I laid in my bed, and then I went and packed and then flew to LA the next morning. So that's what my schedule was.
It was awesome, man. You did a great job. And Mario Lopez, just to say, he's been around. I mean, remember Saved by the Bell, right? I mean, he's been around forever. So he's got, he's just got it down. He's used to living in that spotlight, I guess, and just doing what he does. So awesome. So let's get right into it, man. And I want to tap into Rachel's expertise too as a fighter, because I love having fighters on here because it gives another perspective, right? So Jake Paul versus Ben Askren. I don't even know what to say. I kind of knew what the outcome on that fight was going to be because Ben Askren's not known for his striking, and it's a boxing match, right? So, what do you, I guess I'll start, Rachel, I guess I'll start with you real quick because me and Ray have been kind of talking a lot. I want to give you some time here to kind of weigh in on this. What are your thoughts on that fight? Where did where did it go right? Where did it go wrong? What happened here?
So I think, and I don't know, some people are super judgmental about the kind of these like superstar matchups, and I admittedly I am myself a little bit too. Honestly, Jake impressed me a little bit more than I had expected. I watched this Nate Robinson fight, and I really think that just the way that Nate came forward, and ran at him borderline was really throwing him off. But honestly, it was throwing him off. So Ben giving him that time to get his range and his space, I just think was not a good idea for somebody who is not that I don't even want to say not that great of a boxer. Ben's just not a striker, just flat out not a striker,
Never has been.
So no, and that's fine because honestly, he ran for a while with what he was good at. So I mean, no hate on him. He's a great fighter in his own right, but just not a true representative of the MMA boxing,
Yeah.
I feel like it could have been better.
well, I was wondering if Ben was just going to get frustrated and go for a double leg.
Honestly, that was a big thing with the MMA community from what I was hearing is everyone just wanted Jake Paul to just get a taste of fighting, actual fighters that people were hoping he did. They were hoping they just picked him up and slammed him. Yeah. And I was like, as much as that would have been entertaining for sure, but I kind of already knew how it was going to go, and it unfortunately wasn't going to go in the MMA community's favor. But I don't know. I expected Askren to hang it a little bit longer than he did, honestly.
I didn't expect a first round knockout, but it is what it is. I mean, and some people are saying it shouldn't have been stopped too, but I don't know. I mean, what are your thoughts, Ray, on that?
So listen, the thing is that I think that there was too much pressure on Askren representing MMA, right? So it's Jake Paul is a better fighter than what people think. He sparred with Jean Pascal, who's a world champion, Andrew Tabiti, who fought for the world title in the cruiserweight division. Jake Paul is hanging around and is sparring with some quality guys. Now, people want to hate on the kid, and it's bottom line is he gets a reaction. You either love him or you hate him, but you're going to watch him. The kid is 24 years old. He's a good athlete, and he's working with BJ Flores, who's a former cruiserweight contender, Jay Leon Love, who, fought in the super middleweight division, who's very talented. So, and BJ Flores even said, it was his lead trainer, he goes, I like Jake being around world champions or former world champions, because in some instances, iron sharpens iron, and it's almost like you learn things via osmosis in some aspects. And Rachel can attest to this as well, being a professional fighter. So I look at the fact that Jake Paul, he put in the work. He was in very good shape. Also, I mean, and this is the truth, he went into the fight with a heavy heart because he lost his bodyguard that he was super close with. So he was going out there, and the fact that his bodyguard predicted a first round knockout. And listen, Askren is a born competitor, but to say that, he let the MMA community down, this and that, that's BS, because Jake Paul's a better fighter than what people think. And if you look at the way MMA and boxing, this and that, which I don't agree with this MMA versus boxing stuff because they're totally different sports. An MMA fighter is participating in boxing, but he's not representing MMA, and it doesn't diminish what he's done as a fighter. If you want to get to that point, let's talk about how Frank Mir lasted 6 rounds with Steve Cunningham.
Yeah, which is
6 rounds and fought his ass off.
Yeah.
Instead of us talking about, oh my God, Askren did this and he failed the MMA community, whatever. No, it's that Jake Paul is a better fighter than what you guys think. And also, hey, Frank Mir in his pro boxing debut went the distance. instance with Steve Cunningham. Why aren't we talking about that instead?
Yeah, no, that's a phenomenal, example, because Steve Cunningham's a phenomenal fighter. I mean, the guy, and Frank Mir, he's no slouch either, obviously, but that's just not his forte, right? He's an MMA guy. So the fact that he went that, the distance with a fighter like that is just amazing.
Yeah,
Frank impressed me. To this. If he impressed me, especially, and I know that the fighters have a shelf life, and unfortunately it's young. It's like any actual professional athlete, even football players are done pretty young. But he impressed me, like, for sure. At his age, I was really impressed, and I had some predictions from pro fighters on how that fight would go, and they didn't expect it to go that well for him at all. So he did great.
And I agree. Here's the thing. They are two separate sports. They're both combat sports. That's about where it stops, right? They're both combat sports, and it kind of stops there. There's a lot of striking in MMA, but you can't take a boxer and put him in an MMA fight and expect them to do well. And the same thing kind of goes the other way around, I think. It's kind of, they're two different game plans. I mean, even the way you roll a punch when you box, when you're
different.
Yeah, like you use your shoulder, you could back it out. Whereas in MMA, you're using 4-ounce gloves. You can't really do that. You're going to get creamed.
Bingo, Steve. You mentioned the ounces in the gloves. I think the smallest ounces glove-wise in boxing is 8-ounce gloves. MMA is half that. 4-ounce gloves, and with the fingers and everything. So the way you turn your punches, the way you throw a shot, the way you grip, everything, it's vastly different. It's not designed. The fact that MMA fighters are coming into the boxing realm and being as competitive as they are, I think is phenomenal.
Oh, it's great.
And people need to understand, like, stop. I'm sick of this. I mean, am I allowed to curse on this or not?
Sure, man. Say whatever the fuck you want.
Right, so
you for sure are.
Yeah, Rachel broke that last. I think she broke the.
Okay.
The microphone.
I'm going to say this, Steve. Like, I'm sick of this bullshit about this MMA versus boxing nonsense, whatever. Just stop it already. They're two different sports. An MMA fighter is participating in boxing. It's like when Michael Jordan went from the NBA to Major League or to, AA baseball and started playing baseball. He wasn't going to be Michael Jordan on the baseball diamond. It's impossible, or nearly impossible. We need to stop that. Fighters are fighters. And listen, Askren and Frank Mir showed a ton of stones, went in there and did their thing. And that's what I give them credit for.
Yeah, I short nothing to Askren. I think Askren, it's not his thing. It's not his game. You want to wrestle. If that was a wrestling match, Askren would have won.
Oh, dude. Yeah. Well, and that's the thing. That's the difference. I guess that's what everyone's like, MMA versus boxing is everybody goes, well, if that boxer when he came and did an MMA fight, they would have got creamed. Well, yeah, because
of course
MMA, like, if any good MMA fighter is going up against a good boxer, they're not going to box them, So there's options. In MMA, you have options. In boxing, you're going to go box that boxer, and
yeah,
I think it's just from an entertainment standpoint, right? Like, boxing is such a big deal that I think MMA as a sport feels, they're different sports, but it's like, we don't want to be outwashed by boxing, because boxing's been such a dominant sport for so long that I feel like MMA is now sharing that spotlight side by side, as an equally dominant sport. So, and
I think there's room for both. I mean, there doesn't have to be one. There's plenty of room out there, just like the podcast world. I mean, a lot of people are like, I remember a time, and Ray, you probably remember this too, even working in media as long as you have been. There's been like this time period where people have been so like, oh, this one got this deal and they made it, and they're so angry that somebody else did well or something like that. And you got to remember, there's room for everybody. There's room for everybody in this. Like, I would encourage everybody, Ray, go get a podcast, I tell everybody, do this, because there's room for everybody. We could all support each other and still do well. I mean, and that's the same thing with MMA versus boxing, if you want to even call it that, is that both those sports have an equal ability to exist at the same time.
Steve.
Yeah, they're different.
To piggyback off your points is that, listen, I love fighting, but I'm also a big football fan. If I'm home for a weekend, which doesn't happen often, and when I see, and it's a college football Saturday, I'm going to watch college football from the time I wake up with Big Ten football at like 11 o'clock Eastern time, or whatever the case may be, until Pac-12 after dark, which is like past 1 o'clock in the morning. And then Sunday, I'm going to wake up and watch all day NFL football from 1 o'clock Eastern through Sunday night football. I'm not going to say college football sucks and this and that, or the NFL so much better, or the NFL sucks this and that. I'm watching football the entire weekend because I love football. The same thing with combat sports. I love fighting, whether it be MMA, boxing, whether it be collegiate wrestling, whether it be kickboxing or whatever. I want to see it all. Give me fighting. Enough of this boxing versus MMA, whatever. Enough of that shit.
This is awesome. We went off on a tangent here, but hey,
sorry,
all of us. I mean, we all kind of went down this rabbit hole here with MMA versus boxing, which is great. I mean, I think it's a conversation worth having, and I think I think we all need to kind of consider that. And like I said, I think there's room for everybody. There's room for everybody to exist at the same time, which is really important. Now, just going real quick back to Ben Askren versus Jake Paul. And some final thoughts on that. I mean, where do you see Jake going next? What do you see him doing? I mean, Ben has already talked about retiring. I think he's pretty much done.
Yeah. And why shouldn't he be? Not because of his performance at all, but why shouldn't he be? He's done. He's made his such a good run as a combat athlete. Shit. And after that boxing fight, he's probably got enough money, and if he feels set up, why keep fighting? I respect fighters who fight until they just can't anymore. I have a respect for them in a different way, and I feel like I definitely will be one of those fighters. But I can also respect an athlete that makes the decision to walk away while they still can, why they can still enjoy life with their family and all their brain cells. Yeah, I can respect that also. So why shouldn't he?
And that's, I think, a big problem a lot of times with combat sport athletes too, is they don't know when it's time, and it's hard to give. I mean, if you did something your whole life, now you're saying, okay, should I walk away? I mean, that's got to be an incredibly hard decision. But I mean, it's better than getting CTE or ending up like a couple. There's a few names I could throw out there, which I'm not going to right now, that probably should have walked away a bit.
They're just
sooner.
punch drunk, and it's just why do it? If I get it, I really do, because I'm one of those people that I feel like I won't know when to stop. But if you do, I respect it, because I feel like that's the harder choice, honestly.
Absolutely.
Well, I tell you what, when it comes to what's next, here's the bottom line: is that I can't imagine what it is to be a prize fighter, someone like you, Rachael, or any fighter, where this is what you're meant to do. This is everything you do, being a competitor, being a fighter, having it ingrained in your blood. It's in your heart and soul. It's who you are. It helps to make who you are as a person. And to then have to walk away still, fighters are fighters. You will never lose that urge to fight. That's why you guys are so good at what you do. So who am I to say that's enough for you, whatever? When it's time for you to walk away, then it's your time. But I can't even fathom walking away when you feel like you have something left to give. And I'm sure that no fighter says, I don't have anything left to give. And I'm sure that Askren kind of feels in some way that competitive bone does not just evaporate and dissipate. And when I look at Askren, people are saying, oh, well, he was hugging his wife afterwards. He was happy. He robbed the bank. No, he did not. The fact is that fight could have gone very wrong for Ben Askren. The fight was stopped. And do I think it could have gone longer? Yeah, but you know what? The Georgia State Athletic Commission put the referee in there for a reason, and I'd rather have a fight stop too early than too late. So, yeah, he got knocked out. His head bounced off the canvas like a basketball, and he was able to walk out under his own power. Yep. And when you walk out of the ring and you lose and you get knocked out in under 2 minutes, what's the one thing you want to do? You want to grab the person who you love the most on the face of the planet and wrap your arms around them and to say, I'm okay. And everyone's like, oh, he was smiling. Well, yeah, the fact that he doesn't have to go to the damn hospital or spend the night in the hospital, I'd be smiling too. Like, yeah, I got knocked out, but whatever. I'm healthy. I got my beautiful wife. I got my kids. I know I'm not going to be that screwed up after that. You know what? So be it. What's next for Jake Paul? I want to see. I asked him in the fighter meetings. I'm like, hey, what do you want next? I'm like, you've been talking about Conor. Is that what you want next? He goes, yeah, I want Conor McGregor. Now, let's talk about in terms of the way that the schedules match up. Conor's fighting Poirier in July. I'm sure that Jake Paul is going to want to come back before that even transpires or whatever, even sooner than that. So, in my opinion, as a way to build up Jake Paul and Conor McGregor, who do we go to? And I know that he doesn't have necessarily the striking skill, whatever, but it would still do crazy numbers. Jake Paul, Dylan Dennis. And then if Paul's able to beat Dylan Dennis, then I think we set ourselves up for a Jake Paul, Conor McGregor fight, which in my opinion, guys, it would do over 4 million buys. If he did 1.5 to fight Ben Askren or more, can you imagine Paul and McGregor?
Oh, I can imagine that. I get into where, and I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong, Ray, with the weight class here. I mean, this is like, you're talking about a guy who weighs 205, walks around at 205.
Yeah.
Or 202, I think he's cruiserweight, right?
Yeah, he weighed in at 190 for his fight against Askren.
Oh, did he? Okay, so he slimmed down a little bit because he used to be in the twos.
Yeah.
And now, we're talking about Conor McGregor, who probably walks around somewhere around 170.
And that's my comment with that one. It's just the sheer size difference. I mean, do I think Conor would do it? I do think he would do it, but that's a big size difference for sure.
Yeah,
I think there has to be a compromise though, Steve, in regards to that fight. So
where do they meet in the weight class?
They're
right?
both going to have to meet somewhere in the middle. So I mean, this is me just talking hypothetically. I see to where the fight could be at 180. The fact that Jake Paul is only 24 years of age. I don't know how old you are, Rachel, but it's like the fact that he's still young and he's still in his mid-20s.
Oh, he could make a cut.
He can cut weight. So 180, maybe 75. And that fight is the kind of money that you hire a nutritionist and you make that weight. So
they'll make bank.
I see that fight happening because they're not that far off when it comes to weight. The fact that Conor's fighting at 70, or what's his fight with Poirier coming up? Is that at 55 or 70?
That's a 55, I think.
Okay, so Conor in his high end is 70. Paul is at 90. So you have them meet at like 80 or 75. Even a weight, honestly, I could even see something at like 177, like something off the wall like that. Like the fight's at 177 is what I can see it happening.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I think they would definitely have to compromise. It couldn't be like Conor going in there at 70 and Paul coming in at like 195. I mean, that would just be a big difference in weight. And, I just wonder if they shouldn't just make Paul cut to 70. I mean, that's the hardest part. I mean, a lot of fighters, and you can correct me here, Rachel, if I'm wrong, but the hardest part about fighting a lot of times for fighters is the cut.
It's the fucking cut. It's the cut. No, it is. Well, it's the camp, but it's also the cut. The fight isn't the easy part of the whole entire thing. So, traditionally it depends, I guess, on how the fight goes for you, but it's usually the easiest part. But the cut, that's the thing though, with him if he walked in at 190 something and he didn't cut, I don't know if he did he?
No, did he cut or not? That I don't know. I don't
think so. I don't think they had any kind of weight class on this, did they?
Because if he friggin' weighed 190 and he didn't cut, he could make 170 looking at him. But is it safe and is it probably in his best interest? I don't know. I think they could do it at like 175, 180. I feel like Conor would do it. He would, because it's money, man. That's Conor's about.
I mean, and then too, like look at the way that the odds would stack up. The fact that Conor McGregor, I don't know how many. I mean, I forget because I've done a lot of fights since then. I forgot how many rounds he lasted with Mayweather. So it's like, listen, Conor lasted X amount of rounds, like 10, right?
I think it was 10.
Yeah, I think it was.
It was like 9 or 10. So the fact that Conor lasted that long with Mayweather, you would think that Conor, from the odds maker standpoint, would probably be the favorite. So, it's like, okay, a higher weight class, but look at the skill level in terms of who Conor has fought and who he's beaten over the course of his career. You give the skill advantage to Conor McGregor, the weight advantage would go to Jake Paul. I think it makes for a unique matchup.
It does. If they're willing to find a weight they can meet at, for sure. What about the didn't he call out Diaz?
He called out. Well, I mean, I can read a couple quotes right now because Paul is calling out everybody.
Everybody.
Everyone. He's literally. I mean, here's one. Jake Paul blasts Daniel Cormier. Says, "I'll beat the fuck out of that fat ass too." Boy. That's what he said. Just like Stipe did. Then now Tyron Woodley chimed in at some point here. Tyron Woodley says, Enjoy saying you're a fighter for another day. Try that shit against me and I'll catch a body."
Well, I'll tell you what, I saw Tyron Woodley during the weekend because him and Askren are tight. They train together at Rufus Sport Milwaukee. Tyron Woodley was all business that entire weekend. Like you could tell that look in his eye. I mean, as they like,
he's a bad dude.
Tiger, he had that eye of the tiger in his eye. And I was like, man, Tyron Woodley is focused and that dude is ready to go right now.
Well, I heard he got into it a little bit with some of the guys there with the, I mean, this is just stuff that you're trolling for. Yeah. At the event. Yeah. So, I mean, it's just people on talking stuff, but I don't know how true it is. But so I put that disclaimer on it when I repeat it because I want to make sure because I'm not 100% sure. What about Paul versus Ngannou? That's what I want to see.
Oh my God, no, poor Paul.
No, don't know. I don't know of many guys that would be. I mean, he is so dangerous and hitting his stride. I mean, he needs to stay away from that.
Overeem's feet left the ground with that uppercut. Man, do you know what would happen to Jake Paul? Well, he would die. He would die if he took a shot like Overeem took. Because there's a size difference there. I think what is Ngannou, like 260?
Yeah, Ngannou's a huge guy, but that's I mean, like I said,
it's one of those hypothetical.
It's one of those hypothetical. I'd love to see what would happen in that.
I bet Jake would regret.
Your advice to Paul: stay away from that one.
Yeah, don't do that. No. I mean, you can make a lot more money fighting guys that are, fighting Nick Diaz, but stay away from Ngannou.
Yeah, well, I think the Diaz brothers either one of them would be a good fight for Paul too. But
okay, the buildup though would be entertaining as shit.
Oh
for that
yeah,
fight. Because the fun. Diaz brothers are gonna run their mouth every bit as much as Jake Paul for sure.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, and they're from Stockton, so that you don't play around with these guys.
You don't play with Stockton people. Yeah,
they're so entertaining.
What do they call themselves? Do they still call themselves the Scrap Pack? Is that still what they call themselves or no?
I'm not sure, man. I have no idea at this point.
I mean, is that before your time, Rachel? Because I'm an old school MMA head, so it's like I remember they were like it was the Scrap Pack, like with Gilbert Melendez and the Diaz brothers and Jake Shields and those guys. I mean,
I don't know if that's still a thing.
That group.
Yeah, I don't know if that we might be dating ourselves, right? Because I don't know if that's still.
Yeah, I think you are because I'm over here like I have no idea.
Okay, so, I officially feel old for the first time in my life, so thank you for that.
Hey, you still got some time to catch up to me, brother. So don't worry about it.
Hey, I'm trying to get that six pack like you, brother. That's a fact.
It's I don't know what the hell just popped up on my screen. Hang on.
Yeah, mine too.
Yeah, unlimited minutes is what we have, so we can go forever.
All right. So anyway, yeah, I don't know why that popped up in the middle of why they would do that. But anyway, so just real quick. Yeah, I mean, it's just a matter of just like I said earlier with the workout, staying consistent, man. Just keep doing it. I will be glad to send you more stuff, man. Just let me know if you want to, and I've already extended to you. If you ever want to come train with me, man, I'm always, I'm open to it, man. I know you're a busy guy though, but when next time you're in New York, come hang out. So, the one thing I get to too, though, just real quick, and we'll wrap up the Jake Paul thing, is he's pushing a 3-0 record. I don't know if I would call that a professional record just yet. I mean, I don't know. It's more, to me, it's like you got to fight a boxer at some point. And then start calling the record, and that's just my opinion. Doesn't really matter much, but it is what it is. I just would like to see him fight somebody of some, a real boxer. I'd like to see him fight a real boxer and then start calling.
A real boxer, like moderate, like relatable skill level. It doesn't need to be somebody with like 50 fights, but just somebody. Yeah. And I don't know if I agree with you. 3-0 is pretty low for a boxing record, and you got to start somewhere. But most boxers, like MMA fighters, you get around like 30. I mean, some get up to like the 50s, but boxers usually have higher records. So they fight for a long time doing what they do. So you're right. He's pretty young in his record.
Yeah, no, it's pretty, and like I said, 3-0 against people who don't box. So let's put him up against a boxer or a real striker and see what happens. I mean, I'm curious. I'm not saying he's going to lose. I'm just saying that I'm curious to see what is going to happen.
Well, I mean, yeah, that's the thing is that when it comes to something like this, though, I really like, from what I gather, and Rachel, you can attest this more because you are a fighter in the MMA space. I feel like the world of MMA is like pissed off at Jake Paul, which
they hate Jake Paul.
Yeah.
I mean, they hate him. And it's like, oh my gosh, like when I'm reading the reviews on social media after the fight, and I'm seeing all these fighters come out, Cormier's like kind of out of character in like unloading on him. And Cormier is like the nicest guy in the world.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
I'm like, man, like Jake Paul is a lightning rod and he loves it. But I feel like the world of MMA, like he sets himself up to like be this guy, this kind of social media boxer type that like has his options with the MMA fighters. Like why, in all reality, why would he want to fight a boxer when you got like 87 MMA guys that have big names from the UFC and different organizations that want to fight him that'll make for fun fights?
Yeah.
It's like, you know, do you really want to fight a boxer that's your level, whatever? But all these MMA guys, the Diaz brothers, like you're getting the Diaz brothers to come out and say, I'll fight you. Like the Diaz brothers aren't like that. Like if you mess with them, they'll come at you, but they're coming after him. So it's like, fight an MMA guy. I mean, I'm here for it. I mean,
I would just like to see him fight it. I would just like to see him fight a striker, somebody who's known for their punching power, somebody who's known for hitting. Yeah. And then we'll go from there.
Fine. Let's make it a good contest, right? Then if he wants to fight an MMA fighter, let's make it like an MMA striker. And they're still very different. MMA striking is way different than boxing. Yeah. But I just feel like it would be a more competitive, entertaining fight than what, you know, Askren was, because I feel like we all kind of knew how it would go. And I mean, Askren's got that grit, right? He's been through the ringer. He's got that grind mentality.
He can grind.
I thought it would be a little bit more competitive, but shit, I mean, it looked like Jake Paul was hitting fucking hard. So let's pick somebody who is a good MMA striker then.
No,
Tyron Woodley.
Tyron Woodley. There you go. I'm up for Tyron Woodley. I am certainly up for that. That would be a phenomenal matchup.
Tyron Woodley's up for it too, man. I bet he is.
Or we could just throw him right into the pit and give him Deontay Wilder.
No, let's definitely not do that. No.
Or Ngannou, right? Like while we're throwing it out there.
I veto that, Steve. Sorry, you've been vetoed.
It's been vetoed by Ray Flores. Here we go. It's out. It's out. So the other thing I just want to talk about regarding that night was Regis Progress, I guess I'm saying,
Prograis,
right?
Yeah.
Prograis versus Red Catch. That was an interesting fight because I was very, very like kind of shocked at what happened on that. Because, I mean, I think, you know, when you watch that, I was like, it didn't even look like a low blow. I don't know what happened there. And I haven't really seen much. I'm actually surprised because I haven't seen a whole lot of chatter going on Facebook or anything. I guess I don't know if people just weren't paying attention to it. That particular fight.
It was overshadowed.
Huh?
It was just overshadowed.
It was overshadowed by the Askren fight, but you know, I mean, that was kind of like it looked like a glancing blow, maybe hit something in the back area, but didn't really hit groin. It was nowhere near his groin. And I don't know. What do you guys think about that fight and how that ended? And, you know,
Rachel, what do you think about it?
I feel like I got to look that up, honestly. so give me some. No, I remember it, but I don't remember. So I remember there being a fight that was stopped, but I don't feel it because I had both the UFC card and the boxing fights going on at the same time. So
yeah, well I mean,
Steve,
go ahead, Ray.
It was acting on Red Catch's part. I mean, it was a shame. I'm sitting there and we're calling it, and I'm like, you know, I'm literally I don't know if you probably heard me on camera, like, where I'm saying, hey, can we get another look at that, whatever. So I'm literally telling my producer, who did a phenomenal job, Jeremy Olsen, like, hey, Jeremy, like, you know, when I say let's take another look at that, that's his cue to be like, let's load up all the camera angles. I'm like, let's take another look at that. Because I'm like, I thought it was clean, right? So we're getting another look at it, and I'm talking about it with my fellow commentators, and it was so clean. And it just got a couple of days ago, like yesterday or the day before, the call got reversed to being a technical knockout. So
did it?
Get awarded from the Georgia State Athletic Commission his TKO win, which is big from a betting standpoint because people did go ahead and bet Prograis to knock out Red Catch. That was an atrocity at the horrendous acting job that Red Catch gave. It's like, dude, like, what is it? What's the terrible awards? A Razzie? Like, he deserves a Razzie.
Definitely a Razzie.
That he acted. I'm like, bro, what in the hell was that? That was an abomination to boxing. But again, when it comes to Triller, and I'll tell Rachael this, and I'm going to tell you this, Steve, and everyone on the Xtreme Life podcast, when you watch Triller Fight Club, especially as we head towards June 5th down in Miami, expect the unexpected, because anything and everything can happen.
Oh, yeah. And that's another thing I want to talk to you about, man. I saw the weigh-in. Well, no, it wasn't the weigh-in. It was the press conference, the presser, right?
With Teofimo Lopez and George Kambosos.
Yeah, man. Those guys don't like each other at all.
Yeah, you're telling me. I mean,
I thought for a minute this all hell was going to break loose. I was like, oh, man, I got to see what Ray's going to do here.
Yeah. Well, I mean, listen, and here's the thing is that when they both sat down, so, I really don't talk to the guys much beforehand just because I want to be as authentic and genuine as possible.
Yeah.
So I'm going up there, and I introduce them and stuff like that. When Teofimo sits down and I ask the first question, I'm a big vibe guy. I'm a big energy guy and vibe guy, and I like to feel people out. As soon as we got into it, the first minute, I'm like, oh, boy. I'm like, there's some tension up here. I'm like, oh, boy. And then they started getting up a little bit, and Teofimo got up, and he started getting ready to take off his shirt. I'm like, oh, no, please, no, please, no, please, no, please.
He did at one point, didn't he? He did pull his shirt off.
And then he goes over to Kambosos. I'm like, please, no, please, no, please, no. And then like Kambosos gets in there and throws like a little shoulder, whatever. And then I'm like, all right, so I'm from Chicago. So like, do I want to take a shot from a pro fighter? Man, woman, child? No, not at all whatsoever. But I'm like, all right, these guys have to fight June 5th. This is our pay-per-view, so I can't let them touch each other because we need to save the fight. I assume that Triller has good insurance. So if something were to happen, I'd rather have it happen to me compared to the fighters. And during this standpoint, I've talked to enough trainers where I'm like, I'm in the middle and I'm moving my head side to side to where my head's not on like a straight.
Right. You got to bob and weave, brother. You got to bob and weave. You got to.
I'd rather have them hit my body than hit my face because I don't need them to break my jaw, because if they break my jaw, I can't commentate. So I'm moving my head, keeping low to try to maintain the peace. And I'm telling Teofimo, like, look, man, like, sit down. Like, I'm trying to be a piece of paper to be right there and like, hey, like, stop it. Like, I'm not, chill out. But yeah, things got tense up there.
It did. And it looked tense. And you did a great job at kind of just getting in between and kind of, the delicate part about something like that is you don't want to come across like you're being a tough guy with these guys.
No,
right? I mean, you don't want to come across because then they're going to focus on you and then you're going to get nailed or you're going to get nailed by accident.
Steve, let's be honest. And Rachel, you could be honest too. like, I don't want to get my ass kicked because I'd get my ass kicked by both of them. And I'm okay with that. I'm secure in my manhood to admit that. So,
I don't know. That's the thing. Putting yourself, it's like, okay, you got to think like dogs, right? When dogs fight, you're not supposed to put your hand in there, right? Because it's like a bit. I don't know. Listen, you were smart to keep moving in between them because, I don't know.
It's like bob and weave, keep your head moving and stuff like that. Like I'm about
to float like a butterfly and sting like a bee, Ray. You got to float like a butterfly. You got to.
I'm not going to sting at all. I'm a very big, like, I'm all about peace and love. I mean, I'll call the fights, but I'm not a fighter whatsoever. I leave that to professional fighters like Rachael over there.
Well, you got to. All right, let's take it from a Bruce Lee standpoint. Be like water. You got to be like water. That's all. Be like water, my friend. So, yeah, I'm excited about that fight because I'm actually definitely tuning into that one because I don't care what's going on that night because those guys hate each other enough for me to really want to watch that fight.
They're going to beat the crap out of each other. That's for sure.
Yeah. There's no
love lost.
No, not at all, man. Not at all. So just in the interest of time, I want to move real quick into UFC 261. Just quickly, we got some great fights on the card there. 3 championship fights. These are it's like the era of super cards right now for UFC.
Yeah,
it really is.
I love it. Well, we're playing a lot of catch up from COVID when they weren't doing it for a while. They got a lot of fighters just
like
ready to
let's put it
go.
this way. We had like 4 championship fights in the last one. We got 3 championship fights in this one. I mean, it's like, what the hell's going on? So you got Valentina Shevchenko versus Jessica Andrade. You know, what do we think? Anybody have any thoughts on this one? I mean, Valentina's just, I don't think she is stoppable right now, to be honest with you.
I got head kick knockout. Andrade, when she moves her head, she leans. And I got head kick knockout. Valentina's going to time that, no problem.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, I mean, Rachel said it all. She's the expert when it comes to especially this world. So
yeah. And Valentina, like I said, she's just so, when you watch her fight, it's so calculated. Her technique, her technical performance is, I mean, to me, men or women, she's probably one of the best technical strikers in MMA. You know, just from a standpoint of perfection of movement, right? She's like, you know, she's got that, you know, just something about how she moves is so technical, and what she sees and how she goats opponents into moving where she wants them to. I mean, she'll do something.
Yeah, like what she did to I totally expect her to do to Andrade, but it's going to be different because like Andrade like leans so heavy from side to side. I think she's going to time it. Like it's going to be deliberate. Like she'll make her lean into this kick, you know, because like you said, she puts them where she wants them. That's her level. She doesn't even have to worry about what she's doing anymore. She now is past that and is just going to make them do what she wants them to do.
And that's the key to being a great fighter, right? It's not just being able to throw the punch, but being able to move like a chess piece to get the opponent where you want them to be, right? So you think of it like a chess game. I'm going to do this, kind of like what you were doing with them leg kicks, right? You threw the person off.
Yeah, but I didn't
throw the head kick,
what Valentina is going to do. I didn't do it, and I should have, but she'll catch on to that much quicker than I didn't. I don't know.
I was yelling the whole time. Anyway, yeah, but you know what? Hindsight's always 20/20. You learn from these things, right? You move on. You know, you learn, you get better from it. So, and then we got Rose Namajunas versus Zhang, which I think, you know, for the strawweight title, I think that's just going to be an amazing fight, too. I mean, this could go. I mean, Rose at one point said she didn't want a title fight. She didn't want the pressure of being a champion if she was going to win. Now she's in a title fight. You know, I don't know. What do you think?
When you're as good as her, it's unavoidable. You're gonna have to fight for a title, not because you're fighting for the title, but because you're one of the best. So you have to fight one of the best, you know. So whether she wants it or not, that's where she's at. I have Weili, honestly. Just the power matches up. I feel like it's gonna be kind of reminiscent of the first Andrade fight, but because of the power. But I mean, Weili's like an equivalent, like she's an equally as good fighter or striker as Rose. So better almost.
Yeah, and Weili's great. I mean, they both. I think it's a pretty good matchup, to be honest with you. I think it'll be a great fight. I think we may see a decision here. I don't know. We'll have.
You think?
I think it may go there. It may go there. We'll see how well they can. You know, it all depends what happened in camp, right? You know, they're both really good fighters. It all depends on what happened in their camp and how prepared they are for each other, and you know, how well they trained for the specific style of the other person, and is the other person going to fight in the style they always fight in, or are they going to switch it up a little bit? You know, that happens too, right? So, you know, let's see what happens. I think it's going to be a very good matchup. I'm not going to throw a pick out there on this one, but I think you're probably right. You know, with Weili, you know, winning that fight, but you know, let's see what happens. I think Rose definitely has a shot.
If she comes with the right game plan, she definitely has a shot.
Yeah.
Well, I love how women's MMA is just continuing to explode. I mean, it's so awesome to see so many kick-ass fighters like what we're seeing on this UFC card, 2 prominent fights, world title fights, you know, seeing fighters like Rachael blossom and grow and everything. I mean, it is so refreshing. Like, I love every bit of it because I remember when women's MMA was sort of like, oh, really? Like, I remember when Dana White was like, yeah,
I was like, no,
whatever. And now, like,
would never have it. Yeah,
women, like the women are putting on these fight of the year performances, no matter what the gender is. And it's phenomenal to see younger girls. Like, you're looking at girls that used to look up to like Team USA when they won. And this is dating way back. And this is, again, showing my age, right? So when like the 96 women's team and won the soccer of the World Cup, and little girls looked up to that team and stuff. But now you look at little girls are looking up to women MMA fighters, the Yangs of the world and the Joanna Jaceks and, the Ronda Rouseys and stuff like that. It's awesome to see this new wave of athlete and how many younger girls are being inspired to be able to make a living, and a damn good living, off of this.
Oh, yeah. No, and I think we owe a lot to, and I want to do a shout out to Shannon Knapp on that as well, because I think she plays a huge role in creating a space for women's MMA and really promoting it with Invicta FC. So, I mean, just a big shout out to her on that one, because there's definitely a big, and you're right. I remember when Dana used to say, no way, never. And then all of a sudden, here comes, Ronda Rousey. Right. And then all of a sudden he realized something. He said, hey, there's a market for this. And, and then it went straight into it. But let's roll into Usman versus Masvidal. What do you think on this fight? Anybody got a thought on this one?
What do you think, Ray? Really?
Listen.
Well, I feel like I've been gone.
Well, but you're ladies first. I mean, I'm a gentleman, so by all means.
I appreciate it. So rewatching their last fight, listen, Usman's been on a tear for sure, and he's just undeniably like top class fighter. But I mean, you got to think Masvidal took that last fight, and it was arguably pretty competitive, and it was on 6 days' notice. So, a full camp for Usman. I'm tentative to make a pick. I kind of want to see Masvidal take it.
I kind of want to see that too, but I don't see it happening. I think Usman's going to dominate that fight. I don't know. It's just where I'm at. He's on a tear. 18-1.
I know.
And he's been killing everybody.
And they're not boring wins. No. He didn't get the belt and get boring. He's still being like aggressively dominant.
Yeah, and then Masvidal's been around a long time too. He's got 30. He's the 35-14 fighter. I mean that's a lot of damage over the years, in those fights. So, I mean, how's that going to stack up in this type of fight? I don't know. I mean, and once again, it's for a championship, so we'll have to see where we end up with these guys.
Well, Usman is obviously the favorite for a reason. And I mean, he has just been tearing through the division in just such impressive fashion. However, Masvidal is an OG. Like, I have a special place in my heart for those OG MMA guys because of how long I've been around the sport. And it's like, you cannot, the fact that he has a full camp, the fact that, he went ahead and he gave his all on 6 days notice, had to go to Abu Dhabi. He went to a fight island, took the fight on that short notice. Now the fight's in Florida. He has a full training camp. And look, Masvidal is not the kind of fighter who will doubt himself. He's coming off of, he had that layoff since the loss to Usman. And I think that, Masvidal is a live underdog in this fight. Do I still think that, Usman is probably going to win the fight? Yeah, but if we're talking on Sunday morning that Jorge Masvidal is the new world champion, that would not surprise me either, because he has defied the odds over the course of his career. The fact that he's still fighting after being a professional for over 10 plus years, do you know how hard that is at this level? It's nuts.
UFC is a whole other animal, right? When you get to that point in your fighting career, this is not, it's the difference between, what I'd say high school, college football to the pros, right? You're a whole different level of hitting, striking, ground game. Everything is just up, it's all up, and everybody's really prepared when they come in for the most part. And, it's just to survive as long as he has in that game. It's the same thing with the Diaz brothers. I mean, to survive. Those guys are all OGs, and to be around as long as they've been and still going at it is freaking phenomenal.
Watch him come out with some Superman punch and just drop Usman, and we're all like, "What the fuck just happened?" And
you think you'll be an Askren repeat, a Ben Askren repeat?
No, he just fucking pulls it out of nowhere. But like, if there was any underdog who was going to flip the script on that card, like if I had to bet on any underdog to do it, it would be him.
Be Masvidal. Yeah,
sure.
No, I could see it.
I can see it too.
I can see
possible.
it. You know, I like I said, I think Usman's gonna pull it out. But hey, I've been wrong before. Yeah. You know what? You want to know? For all the people who bet, I'm gonna tell you, all the people who out there who are bettors, whatever I pick the exact opposite, and you'll probably do well. Seems to be my luck lately with that. So anyway, just real quick, I just want to touch on a couple things. And Ray, if there's anything you want to put out there, we'll go there in just a second too. And of course, sure. Rachel, anything you want to throw out as well, because I do want to wrap. We do got to wrap it up a little bit. I want to respect everybody's time. We got UFC happening, UFC 261 happening this weekend. The early prelims start on ESPN Plus, I believe, at 5:45 Saturday, April 24th. The prelims start at 8, and the main card starts at 10 on pay-per-view. And then we also have, and we didn't talk about this at all, but I'm a big fan of this event too. PFL Friday starts. PFL starts again Friday, April 23rd. Pettis versus Collard. Going to be a great fight.
Oh, yeah, Clay Collard, right? Isn't that Clay Collard?
Collard, yeah. Sorry.
He was like an urban legend in boxing last year or whatever. I mean, why are people talking about Clay Collard, an MMA guy, got into boxing and was successful? If people want to prep all over, like, why aren't people talking about that? What's up with that, everybody, huh?
Ray's on fire tonight, man. He's on fire.
I'm like, what's up, man? Like, come on,
Hey,
negativity.
As far as people talking shit about the fact that no boxers are coming over to MMA, man, Clarissa Shields, I want to see how she does.
Yeah, I'm dying to see how she does too. I think
she's gonna do good. I really do.
She's fighting PFL, right?
Yeah, she's fighting PFL. Yeah. I believe it's like June something that her debut is or something like that.
Yeah, we'll have to see how she does against Kayla. Kayla's a tough one to beat.
Oh, well, I mean, they're going to be separated for a long time.
That should be her first fight. Her first fight should be against
That's not
You're
fair.
over here trying to match Ngannou with Jake Paul and Kayla with Clarissa. Like, what is wrong with you?
Ray's not going to talk to me after this.
No. Steve's matchups have been vetoed by me, so I need to be around
Steve's just trying to get everyone killed right away. So
I need to veto that. I mean, I feel like he started drinking like something that Joe Silva gave him and said, all right, like old Joe Silva, be like, hey, make this matchup, Steve. And you need someone like me to be like, that's been vetoed.
No, we're not doing it. Yeah, no, hey, that's it, man. I shouldn't be a matchmaker, that's for sure.
Give her a chance, man.
That is a big money fight later on, though. In a year and a half, that's a big money fight.
Yeah, well, I mean, it may happen this year, depending on how she does. I mean, if she gets to that point where she's at MSG.
It can't. Listen, Kayla's judo, dude. It can't. There's no way. I mean, I guess, whatever. I don't want to shit on her, but there's no way in the year that Kayla's not throwing Clarissa. There's no way.
Well, the thing you get into at PFL, though, is they're fighting a couple times a night, and it's tournament style. So, you get into that, when you get into, except for when you get to the championship. So, I mean, it's quite possible that if she does well enough, she gets to that championship fight at the end of the year, on January 1st, or I'm sorry, December 20 or 30th. I believe
isn't it New Year's Eve? Don't they?
Yeah, New Year's Eve. That's where I spend my New Year's Eves usually in Madison Square Garden at PFL. So,
nice.
It's a great time. But of course, last year we didn't do anything. So I'm excited to see them back. I think that's going to be awesome. Those fights start at 5:45 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on ESPN Plus, and plays again ESPN2 at 9 o'clock. So with that, I am pretty much done with all the stuff I want to promote. Ray, what do you got?
Oh, well, so next week I'm going to be in Los Angeles. We got Andy Ruiz Jr., former heavyweight champion of the world, taking on Chris Arreola. They're going to go at it toe-to-toe. So I'm going to be hosting the press conference on FS1, 4 Eastern, 1 Pacific time. I will be doing the undercard press conference on Thursday. I'm going to be doing the weigh-in on Friday. I'll be a part of the pay-per-view stuff on Saturday and Fox Sports PBC pay-per-view. So be doing that June 5, Triller Fight Club pay-per-view, Teofimo Lopez, George Kambosos. Excited about that. A lot more things coming down the pipeline every single Wednesday night on MLW's YouTube page. It's not a real sport. It's not a sport. It's entertainment, but I'm calling MLW Wrestling every single Wednesday night at 7 Eastern. So check it out on the MLW YouTube page as well, also on DAZN, on Roku, and a variety of different platforms. So that's what I'm all about. But next week, Los Angeles, Ruiz, Areola, they're going to beat the crap out of each other, enjoy a good night of boxing, and enjoy a beverage of choice with some food as we kick off Cinco de Mayo week.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thanks, Ray. You're the busiest man in show business, man. Swear to God, you're all over the place, man. I see you everywhere. You're like, that's awesome. Rachel, what do you got? Where can people find you? What do you have here going on?
So you can find me at @_Team Lippert on Instagram. I always appreciate support, and just Rachael Lippert on Facebook because I'm really poor at this social media stuff. And
you're getting better. I see you posting. You're getting a lot better.
I just don't get it. I just want to fight, but it's part of it because look at Jake Paul, man. If I could just run my mouth a little bit more, I could probably get like a fight.
Talk a lot of shit. That's
big name. Yeah, right. I'm just not doing it right. So, and I unfortunately I don't have anything going on because I got to get my neck fixed here soon. So kind of out of it.
All right. Well,
what's wrong with your neck?
I have a herniated disc, and I literally get like shocks sometimes when I take like minimal impact. So I'm getting it fixed. Well, my official date's June 1st, but hopefully I can move it way up because I'm getting stir crazy. I can't sit this long.
See, that's some of the byproduct of when you toss people on their head so much that like your neck gets, a little messed up because you're throwing so many people on their heads and pounding them out with the ground and pound.
Well, the interesting thing about Rachael, Ray, is I haven't seen she's a ground fighter primarily, but I've seen her striking all the time. She's
okay, so
got a hell of a ground game. She just never ends up on the ground.
I don't see, that's the thing. I never end up on the ground unless somebody takes me there, and then I usually do extremely well. But the thing is, like, it's the getting people down I gotta work on.
You'll get there. You learn every time you fight, right? So, but anyway, good luck with the surgery. I know Thanks. It's going to go great, and everybody go follow Rachael. She's awesome. She's fun despite what she says about her social media game, she's got one. She's out there posting stuff, and definitely follow Ray. Check him out. He's everywhere, everywhere. So awesome. Thank you both for coming on. I appreciate your time. I definitely want to do this again shortly, and hey, be well and take care of yourselves.
Thanks so much, Steve. Always a pleasure. Rachael, nice meeting you.
All right.
It was nice meeting you too.